Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Forecast Best Ball. We have the second pick in today's draft, and that gives us a great opportunity to talk about Jahmyr Gibbs and the David Montgomery trade today. And so, with him out of the way, I feel like Gibbs is a slam dunk at 2 and possibly could be 1, depending on how you feel about the fact that he's out of the way. You know, Algier leaving Atlanta, I feel like could be similarly looked at, but obviously David Montgomery's had a huge role, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs is a slam dunk at 2 now with this news that Montgomery has moved on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Gibbs ends up overtaking Bijan. I've kind of gone into this offseason thinking that Algier and Monty would be out and have still sided with Bijan, but I don't know. I feel like once projections come out in terms of points scored total, like Lions are probably going to be head and shoulders above Atlanta. So I could see that flip flopping, but the nice thing about best ball is, we're just going to draft a bunch of teams, and we'll get exposure to both here.
Yeah, no, and getting Gibbs exposure is huge, right? I mean, you talk about best values or whatever, but you definitely want to try and have a couple teams up at the front so you can get exposure to Bijan and Gibbs, because the chance that those two are much better than the rest of the field is decently high. So 2,000 scrimmage yards, I think, is very much in play for both of them. And we saw Gibbs score 20 touchdowns last year. Not as many this past year, but I'm sorry, he scored 22 years ago, not as many this past year, but he could definitely get back into that 20 range if the offensive is high and flying again this year. So love the Gibbs pick. See Amon-Ra go off there. So obviously, couple Detroit Lions in the first round here. And, we'll see what ends up coming back to us, how this ends up playing out. I do think it's interesting to see Genty go at 5. I think that's a little rich for my blood.
Yeah. Whoa.
Especially with the news that Kubiak wants a second running back, which maybe that is Tyler Algier, and they have a lot of work to do on their offensive line on top of that. So if he's not going to be the workhorse, they better have a much better line in front of him. And I understand Mendoza is going to be a significant upgrade from Geno, but overall, I think Genty at 5 overall and third amongst running backs is a little rich for my blood.
I think that's the highest I've seen thus far, but I get it at 5 because it feels like there's a tier break after 4, especially if you're not as sold on JSN as others. Like typically I've been going either JSN, CD, or St. Brown there, but man, we'll see with Genty. But let's take a look at how the board's going to come back to us with picks 24 and 25. So just looking at ADP, that's going to be probably in the Nico, Olave, Jacobs, Brees range.
Ooh, there goes Bucky.
And I was going to say last time we had the one pick, we took Jacobs and Bucky at the turn. So this board's kind of shaking out a little bit differently. I don't know if we're going to have a chance at Bowers, but what do you think with 3 picks to go?
Yeah, with 3 picks to go, I was going to say maybe Chase Brown makes it, but he dropped there. So we're going to get Neighbors, London, or Bowers. And I think that's probably the direction we should go, there goes Neighbors. And I'm glad Neighbors went because, I'm not in on Neighbors. I was definitely down on him coming into the year last year, and coming off the huge injury, I just have very big reservations on that. So I think Brock Bowers, we had a draft where Mason Taylor was our tight end 1. So doing it differently this time, getting Bowers quickly in this draft, I think is going to help our team a lot here. I think we can maybe round out the position now at the very end of the draft. We did talk about going 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends. So maybe we take a third one, maybe we don't. But I love this start with Gibbs and Bowers. And now we can turn around and pick whichever of this group that falls. I wouldn't hate Olave here. Ken Walker building momentum towards the Giants. I think that could be a very interesting fit with Jackson Dart. Maybe instead of getting swooped by Charbonnet, he's going to be getting swooped by Dart this year at the goal line. So I'm not sure on that. But I think Chris Olave is a very good and safe play. We both love Tyler Shuck, maybe me more than you. But I do think that, Olave showed again this year that he is still a very elite wide receiver, and that when he's given the opportunity and gets good targets, that he can turn that into very top end production.
Yeah, I'm excited for him this year, and I'm excited to see kind of how this team shakes out, where we start with obviously a running back who could finish number 1, obviously a tight end who should or could finish number 1, and then Olave who, should comfortably suit inside the top 10 at the position as well. And there's just so much receiver value late that I'm confident we can fill out that room. But at this point, I've kind of stayed true to having Bowers as my number 1 tight end, just because, like, I don't know, like I love McBride. I think he's awesome, but he's got more target competition. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Like, we know, at least in Las Vegas, who the quarterback's going to be, and we know that there's really no wide receiver one at this point. Not to mention, I think Bowers is a better player anyway. So I've been loving when he's been falling to this portion of the draft and just been, scooping him up at will.
Yeah, and I'm not going to fall into the trap that I did with Brian Thomas Jr. last year, where he finished really strong with Mac Jones, somebody who was not going to be throwing him the ball the following
Yeah.
year, right? And so McBride had this massive breakout with touchdowns and targets with Brissett, and Brissett was averaging 39 plus passes a game. That is not going to be how Arizona wins. They have a different coaching staff and different weapons. They're going to have a different quarterback. I just don't think that that's going to be what they turn to. It's not going to be so much volume. And McBride, up until that 8-game stretch, 9-game stretch, had really struggled to score the ball. So, I agree with you there that I think Bowers and McBride are a lot closer together than maybe it seems at this point. That, McBride is kind of the far and away favorite right now. I have McBride in both of my dynasty leagues. So the fact that I'm saying this even, I think kind of highlights that, you should definitely be all over Bowers as the second tight end, especially if he goes, a half a round or round later than McBride. So I know it's only
And,
4 picks in this draft, but it can be wider.
yeah. And I think by the time we get to August, it's going to be probably closer to a coin flip, but that's just kind of gut reaction. As soon as we start getting, reports out of camp that Mendoza is lighting it up and, that offensive line wasn't maybe as bad as we thought it was in Las Vegas. It was just a product of Pete Carroll's son being the O-line coach and then, just quitting on the team and et cetera, et cetera. So I do think we'll get some good reports out of that, but we are one pick away. So I'm definitely inclined to pick Ibuka if we get him here. I know you probably don't have any issues with that. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, you cut out there for a second, so I didn't want to talk over you. But yeah, Emeka Buka is obviously the pick here. The only other option is Trevion Henderson, but I'm hoping that maybe we can even get him on the way back. And so nice. I wanted to pick Emeka over McLaurin in the last draft, so the fact that McLaurin went one
Yeah.
pick before Buka there, I think worked out pretty good. And if we miss on Henderson, I don't know that I want to go with Harvey or Quinshawn Judkins.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we would look back towards wide receiver. And I know we picked Waddle last time as well, but I think he's a glaring value. Oh, there we go. So Trevion Henderson's still there. I think that this is a great upside pick, a great running back to stack with any of the top end guys as your number 2 for this super high upside build. And I'm loving this team so far.
This team is good. I
Yeah.
like this a lot. Yeah. This is going to be fun to build out.
Start. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, we wanted to go 3 quarterbacks with this build today. Mm-hmm. And so going in with that mindset, it can obviously change in the first couple of rounds. If you get somebody that's a good value, we obviously could have gone with Lamar Jackson had Henderson not fallen there. But I do think that this now with these 5 guys lends it more towards being able to do that at quarterback. So we'll see what ends up falling, how it ends up falling. But this start is basically a dream start, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think at tight end too, like, not to double click on a player that we took last time, but if we do go with 2 tight ends, I think Mason Taylor at the end can be a decent target, or even someone we talked about last time, like an Isaiah Likely, and just kind of waiting on that value. But where we're at, I think this is a good spot because it also allows us to stack with Olave and, Shuck and Baker, because those 2 are going in a pretty similar range. So I'm definitely confident that we can get at least one of them. But and then we'll also, with our last pick, we're going to take Devon Bailey, right? That's just been our favorite value in the draft in round 19 or 20. Just kind of clear cut number 2. Although I did watch a mock draft today. They had Mekhi Lemon going to the Saints, so I was a little bit nervous about that. Yeah. But we'll see. And I don't know with Lemon if he's just like doing some self-sabotage right now, or if it's all just kind of smoke and he's just wanting to get, moved down to get taken by the Rams or whatnot, but we'll see what happens. I think that's just a lot of BS, what we're hearing.
Yeah, I think, bombing his interviews is like the biggest tell ever. I mean, Mendoza even talked about like how a team told him to get arrested so he'd fall, it's probably the Jets. But yeah, like there's a lot of gamesmanship with those interviews and that type of thing. But I think what you put on tape and what basically the front office's ability to see through that type of stuff. I think it's interesting that they put it out in the media. Maybe their way of
Yeah.
saying, all right, we see what you're doing, stop doing that. But
Yeah.
I think it's a all cat and mouse game at the combine. It's very, very entertaining. And I've seen the Saints, obviously if Lemon goes there, that would be bogged down a little bit for Olave, but I do think that there's also a chance that Love goes there, and that would be a huge boon for the offense overall. All right, we're on the clock next, and so there goes Drake May, and I think that there's still a few interesting wide receivers here. We could obviously go with Burrow, but I think Metcalf feels like a glaring value. I know we keep picking him. I feel like people maybe aren't as big on him, but that feels like a super easy pick there. And then I don't know how you feel about Burrow versus the rest of the group.
Just think there's going to be so many opportunities to stack Burrow with our Chase and Higgins teams that I don't really have interest in doing that right now. So Warren fan and a tight end. I don't know. Like, should we pick Ricky Pearsall just because if he's healthy and can never stay healthy, he would be the one while Kittle's still out? Obviously, McCaffrey's
Yeah,
still
I
there,
think
and we took Pearsall. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, we took Pearsall. No, that's fine. And we were right up against the clock there. And my opinion on Pearsall is not changing really, right? That my biggest issue with him is until they turn the keys over to him as the number one wide receiver, he's always going to be at risk of being the fourth or fifth option, even in the offense. And that was my whole deal against drafting Ricky Pearsall. The whole industry was all on him saying it was going to be
Yeah,
good. Juwan Jennings was trending towards IR, and then Jennings didn't miss time. Kittle and McCaffrey were dominating, and then he was just he obviously got hurt himself, but even after that first initial couple games, like he was just behind in the pecking order. And so, until they give him a clear number one and they kind of clear the path for him to be that guy as the receiver, I just don't know that I can trust him. Now, at this point in the offseason, he's cheap. So, if he is going to ever be that, that's going to come with a significant increase in price. So, I think right now, that's definitely a totally fine pick, in my opinion. Alec Pierce, somebody we drafted in the past and somebody that I think might have a changing situation that can significantly elevate him. So I do like taking him in this area too. But like you said, with Burrow, it's just really tough when we're going to try and stack him in the future. And Stevenson, I can't even believe he's that high. I know he had a good year, but I fully anticipate that he's going to take even a further step back going into next year. I just have a really hard time believing that they're not going to turn it more over to Henderson, and the rest of the quarterbacks there. We can kind of figure that position out later. So, and the tight ends, we already had Bowers, so stacking up a fourth wide receiver I think is good.
and Ramondre, I hope you're right, man. I don't know. The playoffs were not much of an indication that you were, but I don't know. Henderson's
I
he's too good.
Yeah.
I don't.
I don't think the playoffs, like, we knew that Ramondre was going to be getting the ball because when he was healthy, he was all year, right? That was very consistent with what we saw all year. Now, going into a new season, I just have a really hard time believing that that's going to be the case in the split still. And we saw Henderson's big play ability, his pass catching ability, and I just can't fathom that they're just going to continue to not play him, basically not give him the ball. So, I don't know. I'm very scared of Ramondre Stevenson because the price has crept up. I was still not completely off of Stevenson coming into the year, but I was still down on him a little bit. But when you could get him in round 11 or 12, it was a lot different than getting him around 7.
Yeah. So looking at our next pick, two away, I'm not interested in more Diggs, Worthy. Addison I could be talked into, but not rushing to pick him. I would say Algier is an interesting one, just assuming he, moves on and is in a good spot. Rico Dowdle been taking a ton of him. So what do you think at this point?
I think
Or
I
we
think
can
we should
go.
probably look at quarterback here, right? That we should probably get at least one during this. Oh, we have 8 seconds. Let's go with Stafford.
No, let's not go with Stafford because we can still get
You got three
shucked.
seconds, 2 seconds. One, Corum.
Oh, I didn't even mean to put Corum. Dang it. All right, we got Corum. That's fine.
All right, yeah. So he took on a much bigger role too, right? From uh, from Kyron as the season went on, right? He was about to split carries and stuff. But anyways, we got to get back on the pick here. We're on the clock again. So what do you want to do?
I think I want to go with Rico and then just roll the dice with Mayfield, Shuck, Darnold type 3 late.
All right, let's do it. You have a Rico Dowdle fandom here. You are very exposed
I
to
do.
Rico.
I
Talk
know.
us through that. You think he's getting a starting job somewhere?
I think I keep telling myself that it's going to be the Chiefs, only because I don't think the Chiefs are going to make the splash for the big number one that maybe people are hoping or expecting or wish casting. And my 2 cents on Dowdle is if he goes into a timeshare situation, like he's not going to be worth his pick. He'll be fine. But with Rico, it's like he's one of those few players that he gets better the more touches he has. So if he is in a starting role and he's pushing 20 touches, like we've seen it the past 2 years, right? When he gets rolling, he can just be a man on a mission. So I think at this price where there is a clear need for teams at running back, and again, keep pointing to the Chiefs, if he can get that semi workhorse role, maybe Brashard Smith gets mixed in. I think he could be in for a big season. But
Yeah,
again,
and
maybe I should pump the brakes a little bit because I'm pretty
I
overexposed. And we will do an exposure episode to kind of walk through all these guys.
yeah, and I know you think there's a lot of or potential openings. I'm just a little worried that he's not going to get a job. That's like the
That's fair.
floor at this point. And if you're drafting him that thinking that he's going to get to be on the Chiefs, I just don't necessarily know that that's going to come to fruition. So um, and anywhere else he goes, I just don't see another great option really anywhere. Maybe the Saints, but if he goes there, he's going to be splitting with Neil. Um, Maybe he's the backup to Genty that they're looking for, and then
Ugh,
that doesn't really work
yeah,
out
that
that
would,
well.
or the Giants if they're super gung ho on bringing someone else in.
But if it's the Giants, he's going to be behind Scattaboo and he's going to be
Right.
behind
That's what I mean.
Tracy,
That would,
and so it's again, I just don't know. Like there's not a big running back presence in this year's draft, and I feel like it comes at a great time because there's not a great need for running back in the league right now. I feel like maybe the Steelers could be a decent fit. Um, but they have Caleb Johnson, who they just invested a third round pick in last year. Are they going to move off of him after literally never letting him on the field? I don't know. So maybe I need to look through the running back openings a little bit more thoroughly and see where I would think Rico goes. But that's, I guess, just my fear here right now with that is that that's just going to end up being a zero.
yeah, I mean, it's a interesting point, but we'll see. I'm crossing my fingers.
Yeah.
But okay, we're 5 away. So obviously Shuck is the pick if he's there. If not, we're probably going to have to pivot to Darnold just to save our skin a little bit. And Shuck is gone. So who else is there at the quarterback position? So we could go with Darnold. Mendoza is an interesting one just because we can stack with Bowers if you want to go that way. All right, so we are on the clock. I think we should go with Sam Darnold here. Are you
All
back?
right. You coupled Darnold with Mendoza. I like that. Take a shot on Mendoza, maybe get a little exposure there, and then we can take a third one later. I think that might work out pretty well.
Yeah, it was a bummer to see Shuck go. It was a bummer to see
Baker
Baker
go.
go. So those, gambles didn't pan out, but we got the stack with Mendoza and Bowers. So I feel confident about that. And then I think this gives us a nice late stack option with Torrey Horton. So I think we're in a decent spot here. Obviously, our running backs at the top are very good. We're going to need to fill out a lot of depth. Feeling decent about the wide receiver position. So now we can just start to go kind of best player available at those 2 spots here.
Yeah, and Woody Marks obviously has not caught up with the fact that David Montgomery got traded there. So David Montgomery absolutely would be the pick. If we can get him, I think David Montgomery's ADP and draft stock is going to rocket up from running back 35. He did already get drafted.
He already
Actually,
got picked. Yeah.
yeah. Where did he go? Actually, that would be a good point of discussion here. I think because I didn't see. Oh, there he is, 6th round. Okay, so he already shot way up. Somebody was already on top of it, 6'3".
Oh yeah, wow.
And
Okay.
and yeah, so So, and that's where he should be, right? Is right down
Yeah.
Harvey Swift, and he's going to be the starter there. So, that's where I think you can anticipate seeing him go. And Woody Marks isn't going to be anywhere near where he's getting drafted here at 37. I wouldn't guess. Maybe he retains some value as the pass catcher, but I just have a really hard time believing that he's going to be able to get on the field a ton with David Montgomery there. I feel like David Montgomery is so much better than him just as a football player that I
Yeah.
would expect Montgomery to be, heavily favored over Marks there.
All right. So 6 picks away. We got a ton of running backs. We've taken Benson. We've taken Dobbins. Obviously, we just talked about Marks, not wanting him. Jordan Mason's interesting because they're going to cut Aaron Jones. So I say that, and he just got
he just got picked. Nice,
okay.
Love
Dang
that.
It, that would have been a good one.
Yeah.
So of this
maybe
group,
it's time.
Go ahead.
Maybe it's time to get in on another tight end now, right? We talked about getting 3, and so we have kind of a couple pegged late, but there is the opportunity to take. Did he go?
Strange
Dallas
here.
Goedert's there. Yeah, Dallas Goedert, Strange, and Juwan Johnson is the one I was going to suggest too. I don't know if we necessarily want to go that route. The other thing we could do, I think I saw a little bit down on the board is Tyreek Hill. So if we want to take a shot, upside play, we don't know where he's going to go. We don't know how he's going to heal from that injury. I wouldn't necessarily guess that he's going to be ready right away. But if he does sign in Kansas City and decides to go back there, that's going to be an absolute steal there, regardless of how many games he plays, because I do expect that he'd be back off the pup at the very least. Week 6, 7 maybe is when he comes back, but we'll see. So,
all right, then you want to go Juwan here?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea that we just go with the best ball savior here, and let's get a second tight end. Yeah, a second tight end locked up a lot earlier than we even took our first one last time. We're going to hunt a third one later in the draft. We have, a few rounds left, 6 rounds left. And so we're looking for another quarterback. We're going to be looking for another tight end. And we definitely have to try and take some flyers at running back too. We only have 4 there and maybe another receiver. So, have a 3-6-6-3 build. Does that fill out correctly? Not quite. 3-7-7-3. So that's kind of maybe what we should target right there is try and get 7 of each at running back and receiver. We're already at 5 at receiver, so we don't need to go in on that position quite so hard. But I think that could be a successful build here with how late we waited at quarterback, especially.
All right, so we still have 14 picks away. So looking down the board, Jonathan Brooks just always stares me right in the face, man. We're going to do it again?
I mean, that's, yeah, for sure. I mean, I still can't believe that he's this far down. I mean, obviously this is 100% injury related, right? The thought being that he's going to be behind Chuba Hubbard and that he's not going to play as much, but I don't believe that. If he's healthy coming in like we expect, remember, he didn't get hurt last year. He got hurt the year before that in week 14. They just coming off a second straight. They decided to hold him out all year. He's going to be 18 plus months removed from that ACL surgery, and I expect him to be full go, coming out. And if we hear that he's healthy too, because that was the other thing about the second injury is they slow played him so much. It was like, oh, he's going to be off pup. Then it's like, oh, he's going to be ready in week 5. Oh, he's not ready and didn't end up playing until week 10 of that season. So that he was never right? The indications were all there that he just wasn't right. If we're getting news that he looks explosive, that he looks healthy, if he starts saying, I feel 100% for the first time in an extremely long time, I think he's going to do nothing but just skyrocket up. And he goes 2 picks, 3 picks before us, unfortunately, but be all over Jonathan Brooks. Like when we do our favorite picks in round 14, he's for sure going to be the guy that we talk about.
Yeah, that was a bummer to see him go. Spears, thoughts? We've seen him dominate when he has the backfield to himself. Oh my gosh.
And there he goes right before us. Just getting
we had such a good start, but I'm interested in, we don't have a whole ton of time, but
let's go Braylon Allen. I think that's good. That's good. And we could talk about him here in a second. We got a 2 picks to our next pick. And I think at this point, we should maybe go DK, Chimere DK, because I think he still has a chance to be the top target in Tennessee. Really, I mean, that's kind of what he was this year. And So unless they bring in somebody big, I just think that he can continue to kind of be that stable presence in their wide receiver room. And I do think even if they do bring in somebody big, that could be more to replace Ridley and what they weren't getting from him than it
Yeah.
would be to deter from DK. The way he's a rookie, he showed good rapport with Cam Ward, and I think they're going to continue to build on that.
Yeah, I like that pick. Explosive, can, score from anywhere on the field. But going back to the Braylon Allen pick, this is just, the thought that Brees Hall is a potential trade candidate, right? And so he could backdoor himself into a starting role.
Yeah, that and he is coming off injury, but I mean, there was chatter from CBS that he should be a
Yeah,
sixth round pick coming into the
that was
year last
crazy
year.
last
And
year. I
yeah,
don't
I
know
mean,
what they were.
that was obviously completely ridiculous. That was never going to happen. But we did see Isaiah Davis be pretty productive in a backup role. He had a couple touchdowns, and Brees was banged up a couple games, and he stepped in and did well. So Braylon Allen's still super young. When he was drafted, he was the youngest player in the league.
Yep.
And so as long as he can get healthy, I think that there's an element of bruiser to his game that maybe they give him the ball in the goal line. And I think he's got a little bit of pass catching chops as well. So I think overall, Braylon Allen is a good player. So you're picking the player over the role. And obviously it's on the Jets too. So that's a tougher pill to swallow. But if Braylon Allen does carve out a bigger role for himself, I think that could be a pretty good pick.
And you see Tank Dell go right behind him. What are your thoughts on Tank Dell this year?
I mean, supposedly he's looking good, and that was the
Good for
main thing with
him.
Tank Dell is that he needed to make a full recovery just for his health and be able to walk around, But
Yeah.
the fact that they were able to get his surgeries all settled, that he had the whole year off, and it doesn't seem like there's any long-term health concerns regarding the knee, and so from that aspect it seems like he's going to go into this offseason program as a full go during training camp. So we're going to get a lot of news on him, and again, he's another guy that if he actually looks right is going to rocket up these rankings, and
Yeah.
so I'm not necessarily going to be picking him. I'm still too scared to do it myself.
Yeah.
But I think there is a lot of optimism around him. And, before the injury, he was getting picked around 40 in best ball. So there's definitely upside.
Yeah, I wish him all the best because he's exciting, and that injury was gruesome. But someone I don't think we've really had a chance to talk about is Dylan Sampson. So I am intrigued by Sampson this year, obviously because his running mate is coming off a pretty major injury. But you know, with his involvement in the passing game, and Cleveland is not going to be playing with any leads or very few leads this year, I think he has a chance for some decent involvement. And we know he's explosive. So I don't know if you've given him much thought, but he's someone that can even maybe start hot, depending on Judkin's status in the beginning of the season and how he kind of recovers.
Yeah. And I like Dylan Sampson, the player. Every single time I see his name, I always think, why did he have to go to Cleveland? Like the
Yeah.
the Chiefs are just allergic to picking running backs. Would it have been so hard for them to use the last pick of round 3 on him? I mean, even if they didn't use him this year, he could step in right now as their number 1 running back. All of these rumors around who they're going to pick would be gone because it would be Sampson. He's a good pass catcher. He's a great runner between the tackles. He's big. He's fast. It's just like, dude, what? Just bugs me every time that they could have
Yeah.
had their guy and they just refuse to take a running back in the draft. But hopefully he gets off to a quick start. We saw it last year too. I mean, before Judkins got on the field when he was like quasi suspended, he had an
Yeah.
8-catch game to open the year, right? And so
Yeah.
he definitely has the pass catching chops. He had multiple games with 5+ receptions, and so yeah, I kind of like the back end Dylan Sampson pick. AD Mitchell, no introduction needed there. I'm all over that.
I knew that.
I
I
think
didn't even
yeah,
have to ask you.
slam dunk. And we have 2 Jets on this team now, which is a little concerning, and the
Yes.
quarterback still needs to be situated there. But AD Mitchell, I think they're going to give a chance to win that number 2 job behind Garrett Wilson. And that's the main thing here for Mitchell is that he just needs playing time. He is a great separator. He's a great route runner, and he's a deep threat too. And so, I just hope that he can put it all together this year, that he can get rid of his drops. This is another guy where drops, Maybe
Mm-hmm.
drops aren't the most predictive stat, but the problem is that it'll take him off the field if he keeps dropping the ball,
Yeah.
and that he can, help the offense overall open up a little bit more.
Yeah. And it's in their best interest to just see how he develops, right? Like unless one of the
Yes,
top three receivers falls to them in their second pick at their second pick in the first round, and they just say that's too much value to pass up on. We know we're going to get our QB in 27. That's kind of the only way that I don't see him getting ample playing time because it makes too much sense for where this franchise is at. And then of course they're going to be playing from behind a ton, and we don't know who the quarterback is. And we talked about this last episode. If it's Kirk Cousins, that could be a really good thing, but I don't know. What if it's Jameis Winston, even even for a
that'd be
couple
even better.
months?
That would be even better.
I
That
mean,
would
we'd
be
be ranking
excellent.
Garrett Wilson top five, right? Like
Yeah. Oh
any
yeah. Oh my
question marks?
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
I guess the question mark would be if they give the keys to him all year, right? That would
yeah.
be the tapping the brakes. But if you could tell me that he was going to start 17 games, Garrett Wilson's
Oh
locked
my
into the top
gosh,
five.
we're
Yeah.
kind of wish casting here, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
I
But
mean, the other guy that could go to the Jets that I've been kind of saying since the news broke that he was going to be allowed to seek a trade was Anthony Richardson. I think
yeah,
that's his main avenue towards trying to get a job. And, that would be terrible for Mitchell and the whole offense, I think. I just don't think Anthony Richardson is that great of a passer. And so he needs the time, unfortunately. And if he gets that time with the Jets, I just don't see, the pass catchers or anybody on that offense really being overly productive.
honestly, it would be better for, well, not better for AD, but just at least on those go routes. Richardson, we know he's
That's
only good at
true.
throwing.
I guess
He's only good
Pierce,
at
I
throwing it
guess, yeah.
deep, right? Like it's
His
like
his
it's
completion percentage on throws 20
yeah.
yards
I mean,
downfield was higher than throws behind the line of scrimmage. So
I
yeah, that's
know
true. We
that's
saw
kind
Alec
of
Pierce kind of break out with him. So yeah, maybe that there's something to be said there.
all right. So we're at our kind of our quota for wide receivers at 7. Running backs we're at 6. We have 3 picks left. Um, we definitely want to take another quarterback. I don't think we need another tight end just because Bowers is going to carry that so much. So I would rather save the pick personally. I don't want Shador. Rogers is intriguing.
Hey, Mason Taylor is there in one pick.
We can't just take every Jet.
I guess that's true. There's too many Jets on this team. Open up quarterbacks. Let's see who's there. Because we've
All
talked
right.
about Anthony Richardson quite a bit, right? And maybe
He's down
maybe
there.
Ty Simpson is the move here,
Yeah, we don't know if he's going to be a starter, where he's going to go. I think if we do take a flyer on one of these like guys, we can do it with the last pick, like Richardson or Simpson. Rogers is still hanging around. I was going to say Jacoby Lane, but he just got taken. So who else is? Oh, let's take our guy Vele. This is just
Yep, too easy.
so now we got Jawan Vele and Olave. So any
Yeah, and
points
so now
at the
we need
Saints?
we need a running back now. So let's pull up the running backs because we're not going to
Well,
take a third tight end, right? We're just going to take a third quarterback, and
I
so I
mean,
think
Devin
Devin Neal is
Neal's
probably the move.
he's the
Yeah,
best value here. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
unless
and the other guy that we could take there is Chris Rodriguez. And as of right now, we'll see if Ja'Cory is able to take that role back from him, but or if he re-signs with Washington. I think Chris Rodriguez is actually a free agent, but he showed out a little bit in the second half last year, and I think that he could be an interesting dart throw at the end of the draft.
I've been seeing more buzz about Love going to Washington today.
Oh,
I don't
really?
know.
That'd be an
Yeah,
interesting spot for him.
and I don't hate it either. I mean, their defense is a mess, but I understand, the season was kind of a wash with, Daniels being injured. So I don't know. I don't know if they would do it, but it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They have the running back room. They just moved off of Brian Robinson when they didn't necessarily need to for Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, and then they're going to move off of him 1 second later to go to Love. I mean, obviously, Love seems to be a top end running back talent, so I understand the move, but it just seems a little, I don't know.
They need defense.
Yeah, like they need other
they
things. I
they
think
need
is the
defense.
point. They need to stay healthy. They need a receiver
Yeah.
still. I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for them to get an offensive lineman. I mean, I feel like running back is like the last piece you put in place,
Yeah.
and their guys are good enough for the team they have around Jaden Daniels right now.
All right. So last pick, I think we should either go quarterback. We're good at running back. Wide receiver, I mean, we can dial up a case for any of them, but what about uh t- 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 man, these get a little yeah, Winston's already taken. Where did he go?
No, Winston's there. He was at like 47.
Did you see him?
Yeah,
Okay.
50.
I don't know. What do you think? Should we wish cast this into existence? That I don't even know what his contract situation is. Let me look.
I think he signed a 2-year deal last year for the Giants, so I think he's still with the Giants on the second year of his contract.
Okay, yeah, you're right. So that would basically be Jackson Dart getting injured. So Fields.
Tyson Badgett, dude. If his dad has anything to say about it, he'll take over from
Oh my
Caleb. I mean,
god,
he's better than Caleb. So,
he's so annoying.
I mean, I would say I still am going to stick on what I said last round with Ty Simpson. I do think that he's the second best quarterback in this draft, and that even if he doesn't start right away, there's a chance that he gets picked by a team that ends up having to start him this year just to see what they have, because I do expect that he's going to be a day 2 pick. And so, I mean, he had a good combine. We know it's kind of the
Yeah,
shorts and t-shirts Olympics, but I
Jimmy
think
Class.
he's got much more upside than anybody here, maybe other than Mac Jones, if Mac Jones does find a job. So, I mean, I think that's as good of a shot as we're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember, but it would be interesting to look back and see where Tyler Shuck was at this point last year, especially after that viral throw at the combine, which he says was a dare. I don't know if I believe that, but
That'd be really funny if it was true.
that's what he says. He said it. Somebody dared him to make that viral throw. But anyways, I think that is an interesting pick, and I don't really know how to evaluate Simpson. Like he was rock solid in the first half, kind of fell off. Was he injured? I don't know. He didn't play a whole bunch, but uh, we'll see. And so we got two rookie quarterbacks here. We got our boy Sam Darnold. Fight on, go Tritons. And at the running back room, yeah, baby. At the running back room,
Such a homer.
oh yeah, man. I mean, did your high school quarterback win the Super Bowl?
No, I cannot
Okay.
say that.
Anyway, so Gibbs, Henderson speak for themselves. Corum's an interesting one. So I think we're going to hear a lot of chatter about Corum this offseason about he's going to overtake Kyron, how all the signs are pointing in his direction. I don't buy that. I think Kyron's better. I think he's McVay's guy, but I think if Corum's getting 35 to 45% of the work on a great offense, like he's going to have some value. Dowdle, he's my favorite shiny toy. I know you don't necessarily agree with that.
He's your
Allen,
guy.
Allen, we talked about him. Sampson's going to catch a ton of passes. Neal, we like. And then at the wide receiver position, we got the Ohio State guys up top. DK's explosiveness. Ricky, who, we don't trust, but there is somewhat of a path to be the number 2, maybe on the offense. Tyreek, total flyer. And then we got some explosive players with DK and Mitchell rounded up with our guy Bailey, and then Bowers and Juwan Johnson. So,
Man, it is too bad on this team that we didn't get Shuck, because we
I
got
know,
all of the other Saints, right? We've
I
got Devin
know.
Neal, we've got Devon Bailey, and we got Chris Olave. That would have been great if we could have paired Shuck on this team. That would have been just chef's kiss.
Yeah. So I love the way this team started. It
Oh,
kind
we
of
got
fell
Juwan
off.
Johnson too. We
Yeah,
literally
dude.
had all of the Saints.
We
Oh
have all of the
God!
Saints
If we would
except
have
for
had
Shuck.
Shuck every
I
single week that
know.
the Saints went off, we would have been going off on this team. But yeah,
I know.
it didn't
But
quite fall to us that way.
and that's a good lesson to don't be afraid to reach above around ADP, because let's just look where Shuck ended up going
It would have been Dowdle,
versus.
dude. That's where I wanted to pick a quarterback. I said Stafford there, but we could have gone with Shuck or with Mayfield instead of Dowdle.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Dang it.
because
Okay.
that's we almost ran out of time there, right, with Corum, and then you wanted to go Dowdle and not a quarterback there. I knew we wanted three, so I was saying that was that was the spot where it felt right to strike. We wouldn't have picked Shuck though. Shuck would have had to have fallen to us at the next pick, but we could have had Mayfield to pair with Ibuka.
Yeah.
That's
All
probably what
right.
we would have
Well,
done.
we'll be back at it tomorrow with drafting Tyler Shuck.
Can't wait, man. These are quick, and hopefully you guys are starting to learn different strategies and get a feel for the players. And we look forward to talking to you the next one.